Hey there. So, are you a realtor that is starting a new career in real estate and you're hearing all these things about NAR and you're wondering, hey, what am I supposed to do? I got you. Let's talk about it. So, I'm Kathy Byrnes. I'm a realtor here in the Lake Norman area. I've been through this kind of experience and I'm happy to help. So, if you want to know, stay tuned. And if you like this kind of stuff, subscribe below and let's get going. Okay, so I started myself at almost 56 in 2006 when the market was a crazy market heading up, and the whole industry was very different then because there was no meta businesses for real estate like there are today. So there were strictly franchises, small mom and pop boutiques, and most agents started all by themselves and nobody really trained them. Coaches were few and far between. People didn't really know what they were really for. And now there is a plethora of coaches. There's different styles that you can do. There's cold calling, and there is relationship building and teams to join. And here's some ideas. First of all, if you were like me, starting at nearly 56 years old, you had a history. You had some life experiences. You learned some things along the way, right? For me, I had done financial planning for 23 years. Prior to that, I had my own office furniture business where I sold used office furniture. I got that furniture from major corporations in Detroit that I bought at scrap value. And that was my husband at the time's brainstorm, and it was brilliant. Actually, our company was called American Previously Owned, and we sold used office furniture to startup businesses, and it was a hit. Why did you fail? Because they didn't know how to run it like a business. And that is the beauty of failing, learning from your mistakes, right? And not everything that you've done up to this point in your life is a mistake, is it? I mean, there are blessings along the way where you learn stuff, and that was me. And prior to having that business, I had worked for the gas company, Michigan Consolidated Gas Company, in the payroll department, and I saw how corporations worked. I didn't like it. It's not for me. I was very glad to leave. But through those years, I was married. I had 2 babies, and so there's just life's experiences that you can bring to real estate, because I'm going to tell you, real estate is a relationship business. When people are buying or selling their homes, it's very emotional. You got to be able to plug in, first of all, as just someone who can relate to them, have empathy with them, help guide them through their emotional roller coaster that buying or selling a home is. So those life skills are very, very important. And I want you to kind of think back of, what are your talents? What is your specialty? Are you good with talking to people? Are you good at analyzing numbers? Because when you're working in real estate, you've got to learn how to analyze the value of the property, whether you're a buyer or a seller. Yes, there's tools, and they're probably getting easier and easier with AI. There's a basic concept that you need to understand, and that's an important piece. If you don't have it, you can certainly learn it, of course. All those skills, though, are very important. Now, I was talking to somebody yesterday. He was trained on Mike Ferry style of getting a business for leads in his business, and that is basically just sitting on the phone every morning dialing for dollars, right? And that now you got to go meet the client, then you go, it's typically listings, and you can get buyers once you have a listing, but typically they are listing agents. And right now, where our market is, that is a very challenging market because we have a huge shortage of supply. So if everybody's calling everybody, first of all, the sellers are really annoyed because they're just being beat up. And so maybe you need to have another piece, another niche, another component of how you balance out your business, right? And I think that's very important. So let's keep going. So me, with my background of financial planning, I knew how to crunch the numbers. However, I did align myself early on with this great guy who was a former appraiser, and he taught me how to analyze the properties quickly. And I think that that's very important. How do you get aligned where people will share their insights, their information, their knowledge? Well, you can get coaches now, and I would look for a coach that is going to be an all-around coach, not just one that gets you calling, just dialing for dollars. I think it's too limited. Do people make a lot of money in it? Yes. Is it a really big struggle now because of the limited inventory? Yes. Do I think that that means you need to be diversified? Yes. My favorite way of building a business is relationships. When I moved here, I knew one person, so I didn't have any relationships to build locally. And that's another point I want to talk to you about. When you're building your business, you want to make sure that you are building a network of realtors that you can refer to around the country. And I mean outgoing referrals. That can also end up meaning some income referrals or incoming referrals. Me, I'm a big fan of outgoing referrals. I'm part of a BNI networking group that is international. There may be one in your area. The real estate seat is very difficult to get, but not impossible. Clearly I got it. And I held on tight since 2008. Now in there, that gave me an opportunity to meet lots of people locally. Vendors, people that wanted to do business with realtors. So I started to build those relationships. That was a big deal. And I have done that through send out cards to clients as I built my base, and built those relationships by offering to have a guy. I'm known as Kathy's got a guy or a gal. And so every month I would send out a send out card saying, I got a guy, and I would feature somebody. That's how I was building relationships there. I've got videos that explain that scenario in detail, but right now I'm just kind of touching on some highlights. The purpose of this video is to kind of get you thinking. If you're starting over, let's look at what your talents are. Let's think about relationship building. Let's think about how you're going to pick your niche that relates to who you are, your past experiences, your past life. I am from Michigan. I grew up around a lake. I now live in the Mooresville, Lake Norman area of Charlotte, which is just north of Charlotte. And it's a lake community. It's a man-made lake, very different from natural lakes. So early on, I decided the lake was going to be my niche. And I did that, number one, because I liked being around the water. But number two was the price point. Because for me, one of the things that I had learned in my failed business was about paying attention to what my net was, what my expenses were, how was I going to be profitable. I'd look at the splits with the different companies that I was with. I was analyzing all those pieces. Now, when an agent decides that they're going to get into real estate, they really need to look at the whole picture. They really need to align with someone who's going to give them the straight talk. This is not a cake job. This is a hustle, and a lot of hustle. For me, I think I work 7 days a week, probably 10 hours a day. I don't know, 9 years. I did it the hard way. I didn't have a coach. I didn't really think I wanted to spend my money there. I didn't necessarily trust it. And so I didn't do it. In hindsight, big mistake. Again, life lesson, right? However, I did pick my niche. I did study my territory. I did work it like crazy. Now, I also had next to no money when I started. And fortunately, I had jewelry and collectibles that I sold on an eBay store around the world, and that was sustaining. Also, my daughter was a big piece of that because she took me in when I was broke and I had moved here from Michigan and needed just a leg up to try and figure this real estate industry out. So you got to plan on not having much money, if any, for at least 6 months. And this market that we're in right now, this is a tricky one. Many, many, many will be getting out. So I want you to have a real come to Jesus conversation with yourself. Do you have the grit to stay in a business like this where you've got to learn new skills and new territory, new everything, right? Even if you're bringing your previous skills in, which is important, you will still have to decide, is this for you? Because quite honestly, 80% of the agents who get in this industry are gone within 2 years. Why? Because they number one, they didn't have the grit. Probably number two, they didn't really research what was necessary. Number three, they picked the wrong company, they didn't stay committed, or they were too afraid to move to go to another company to maybe level up. So I'm going to give you a tip on what I've learned. I've been with 5 different real estate companies since I got in. The industry was very different when I got in because we had people would walk into an office. That doesn't happen anymore. If you've got an office out there and you're saying, yeah, they walk into ours, very few brick and mortar scenarios are a strong way to get business. It's just not. When you had the brick and mortars in those franchises, they had what they called phone duty. And phone duty was when a single phone number for that office was put on all the signs, and whoever would volunteer to be on phone duty who got the calls from people that would call in. So the phone duty was good, and it was assigned to different people. That, if they're still out there, that is really an antiquated way to do it, and I would consider it maybe if I was at one of those firms that I would want some of that phone duty. But honestly, this is an AI era, and if you aren't with companies that are really heavily involved with tech, AI, and that component, you're on a dead-end trail anyway, in my opinion. Sorry for all of those of you who are at franchises. If you are, then wake up. Start looking at other companies, because these franchises, here's what I didn't get when I was losing my first business. I didn't look at the cost of how I was chasing after my tail to stay above board for too long. And these real estate companies that are in brick and mortar scenarios, that is they're part of a franchise. There's so many fees, so much overhead that they're buried, and they're going to eventually eliminate a lot of those buildings and make them go cloud-based. Now the franchise, first of all, that's a franchise, so they're paying franchise fees. Along comes EXP that changed the industry to a cloud-based format, and they did it before COVID happened, which is really interesting, because when COVID hit, all the agents that were brave enough to be the pioneers and start with this upstart company were way ahead of the game, because we were already doing at-home business. We already understood it. That's where our future is. So if you're thinking it's about going into the office and that's the only way to do it, I'm telling you, pay attention. It is not. Now, since then, other little meta companies have jumped up and have said, hey, I like this idea. We want to tweak it and do it this way or that way. I applaud them for their saying, let's go try it. Do I think that they can compare? Personally, I don't. We're so far ahead of them. And if I were going to hitch my wagon to a star, I would hitch it to the one that's really excelling. And because I want to be aligned with my business with the one that's doing the best. And different people will disagree. You do you. Honestly, I don't care. Just giving you my personal opinion. The meta companies are where you need to go. And coaching, what's beautiful about the EXP and these other meta companies is collaboration was non-existent before this all started to happen with the meta companies. There was no collaboration. I think in many of the brick and mortars, there still is no collaboration. Is there training? Yes, there is. But talk to them about who's the teacher. Are they someone that's really experienced out doing the business? Because that's what it is at EXP. The top of the top are the ones that are training all the masses at EXP for free. So, is there coaching at EXP that you pay for? If you want it, there's so much free stuff. You can do that as well. There's so much here that one of the biggest complaints that you get is it's a fire hose of information. That's okay. Pick and choose what works for you. I'm telling you, if you're starting over, you want to go with the top of the cream of the crop, right? And EXP is it. So, but you don't have to pick it. If you are and you're interested, book a strategy call with me and let's talk about it. If you're not, okay, it doesn't matter. Check out all the other companies. But do yourself a favor, pick a meta company no matter what, because that is where the future is. Put those talents of your past experiences to work. See what's going to work. Have money in the bank, because it's not going to happen right away. If you're brand new, join a team. Pay attention to the team. Don't just pick any team. Get on one where there is leads, where there is training, where there is focus on how to better you up, where you have the opportunity to do open houses, where you have the opportunity to share their listings as if they're your own and market them. Pay attention to your net, because the splits are important. But remember, probably the first couple of years, this is like a college education for you. Don't expect to get rich right off the bat. What you want to do is learn, make money, and grow. Do your homework. Don't get lost in all the training. Stay focused. Balance your time out. This is a business. Treat it like one. But use your past experiences to your benefit. You can do this, but I would love to partner with you. If you're a hustler, you want more and you'd like a shortcut, come check me out. Come check out a business strategy call with me. And if not, just listen to the videos. That would be great too. I appreciate that. Share the word. Subscribe below. Thanks, everybody.